You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marcagiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Hey, it's Dr. J here. Evan, how's your Friday going?
My Friday is going great. It's a beautiful day. There's a festival coming in town that I'm going to be at this weekend, meeting up with people. It's going to be fun, man. I'm going to get out from behind the computer screen a little bit.
That's great. I'm actually flying up to Boston this weekend. Pretty excited about that. I have family up there and going to a wedding, so it'll be a really great weekend in Boston.
Nice. Yeah, it's fall is probably kicking in there by now.
I know, the foliage, all that good stuff. Love it.
Great.
So we talked kind of pre-show that we were going to chat about the mitochondria. I'm getting ready to do a nice little YouTube video on it today, and it's kind of fresh in my brain. So I wanted to kind of talk about the mitochondria, and we'll kind of talk about energy as well, because the mitochondria is really the powerhouse of your cell. Your body creates about 36 ATPs, and ATPs are like the currency of your cells. It's how your cells generate energy. And when people have energy issues, it typically comes from one out of three ends of the triangle of energy, and that is adrenals, thyroid, and mitochondria. And yes, they're all connected, because typically if you have some level of adrenal dysfunction, there's probably some level of thyroid dysfunction. There's probably some level of mitochondrial dysfunction, especially if we're having some type of gut issue, because we need certain nutrients to run our mitochondria. And again, we're going to attach my YouTube video that I'll be doing later on today, because I'm going to go through it and break it down in a more nerdy fashion. But you're going to see there are certain parts of what's called the Kreb cycle or the citric acid cycle, and carbohydrates, proteins, and fats all feed into this cycle, and this compound called acetyl-CoA is produced. And acetyl-CoA, again, we need carnitine to help with the fats and bring the fats into the mitochondria. We need certain B vitamins and alpha-lipoic acid to help bring the proteins and the carbs and convert that into acetyl-CoA in the mitochondria. I'll take a breath there so you can break it down.
Yeah, take a breath. Well, so a lot of people that have chronic fatigue, they may get some type of prescription or who knows what for chronic fatigue. But if we target improving the mitochondrial function, you'll often see I wouldn't say a complete removal, but you'll definitely see a lot of regression with those chronic fatigue symptoms. So maybe we'll get into why mitochondria get so messed up anyway, and then talk about why I at least want to talk about, the ways to boost them and support them.
Got it. So yeah, regarding the mitochondria, right? I mean, it's going to crank up. It's going to run 2 times around, and you're going to see this whole citric acid cycle. That's what we kind of talk about regarding the mitochondria, right? This whole citric acid Krebs cycle. This is really where your mitochondria is generating lots of ATP, lots of energy, and there are various nutrients that are needed. So just to kind of, we'll put a diagram on the video here, but citrate, cisaconate, isocitrate, alpha-ketoglutarate, succinyl-CoA, succinate, fumarate, malate, and even oxaloacetate. Big words, but these are various compounds that get produced in this Krebs cycle. And we can actually run tests. One of my favorite tests to look at energy production in the mitochondria is an organic acid test. And I use the organics test primarily by Genova, and it gives us a window into how all of these compounds are being produced and the nutrients that are needed to produce them. So it gives us a really good window. And when we're dealing with patients that have fatigue issues, one of the things we'll see is sometimes we'll see the thyroid in a pretty good place, not bad. We'll see the adrenal levels low, and we'll see the mitochondrial levels pretty good. That's going to be a primary adrenal patient when it comes to fatigue. We may see it the other way around with the thyroid being low and the adrenal and the mitochondria being okay. And that's a primary thyroid patient. And we may see it just the mitochondria on the lower end while the thyroid and the adrenals are doing okay. Most of the time, it's a combination of 2 or 3. And sometimes we really have to support all 2 or 3 systems at the same time to make a major, major difference in the amount of energy and fatigue that's there.
Let's talk about mitochondrial toxicity. What are the things that are causing people to have impaired energy levels and messed up mitochondria? I mean, I know a lot of different drugs, antibiotics and things like that affect mitochondria, but would you say the environmental toxins, can you say any toxin that we would generally talk about is negatively going to impact mitochondrial function also?
Yeah, toxicity across the board is definitely going to affect mitochondrial function. Pharmaceutical drugs are notorious for affecting mitochondrial function. Blood sugar issues, because a lot of the nutrients, if you look at how the pathway, how the citric acid cycle runs and the ATP that's produced, you're going to see at certain parts of the cycle, certain amino acids are needed, like leucine and isoleucine and glutamine and histidine and arginine and proline and all these amino acids, tyrosine, aspartate, and all these different amino acids are needed to run the Krebs cycle. B vitamins, iron, if you're anemic, magnesium, alpha lipoic acid. These are, cysteine, sulfur amino acids. So I'm not trying to nerd out, but I'm just trying to emphasize on the fact that nutrients are required for this Krebs cycle to run. So if we have a malabsorption occurring, that's going to affect our body's ability to absorb the nutrients we're taking in to actually run the Krebs cycle. If we have exposure to toxins, that will put stress on the Krebs cycle. Remember, it takes nutrients to detoxify as well. So if you look at your cytochrome P450 oxidase pathways, phase 1 and phase 2, you're going to see a lot of sulfur amino acids, a lot of minerals like selenium, like manganese, magnesium, zinc. A lot of minerals and nutrients and vitamins and antioxidants are needed to detoxify. So if you put more toxins in your body and your body needs to put nutrients into running these pathways, well, that means there's going to be less nutrients to run your Krebs cycle, and your mitochondria is going to have less ATP and less energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a great point that you mentioned. I'm going to restate it just to make sure it goes into the brain and sinks in. It takes more nutrients / or in parentheses energy to deal with toxins. So removing your toxic load is going to be essential. I just pulled up a page here from the Texas A&M University, different toxins that affect mitochondria. And this is another reason to stick to an organic diet whenever possible, because these herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides are going to prevent the passing of electrons to the proteins that carry electrons. So it's got the big list here of all these different toxins that are in conventionally raised foods, the different fungicides and herbicides, insecticides. So obviously cyanide, all these, it's a huge list. If you just look up toxins that affect mitochondria, there's so many, but definitely, I think that's the good starting point for people. It always comes back to this good foundation of the organic, chemical-free diet, and then we build on top of that with all these other extra geeky nutrients that we like to add in and boost your mitochondria up even more.
Exactly. So if anyone's listening to this and getting geeked out or getting a little overwhelmed, doesn't matter. Just take everything I've just mentioned, throw it away. An organic diet is going to be foundational, right? Good nutrients, low toxins, anti-inflammatory. That's going to be the foundation. Now, on top of that, we want to make sure we're not consuming too much sugar, especially refined sugar, because if you're taking in a whole bunch of sugar, which doesn't contain nutrients, well, it actually takes nutrients to run these pathways. So if we're getting a whole bunch of food that doesn't actually have nutrients in it, you see how we're actually creating a nutrient debt, meaning it's costing more money or more energy to run these systems than what's actually coming in. It's like we are charging more on our credit cards than we're making that month on income. And I call this nutrient debt. So we want to make sure you're not going into nutrient debt regarding poor food choices, and we want to make sure we're not going into nutrient debt by exposing ourselves to toxins and increasing the amount of requirements for nutrition that our body needs.
Yep. I wanted to go over some of the chronic conditions that have their origin in mitochondrial dysfunction. Obviously, this stuff is available online, but since you're listening, you want to, let me save you some trouble here. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, osteoporosis, cancer, and the big one for us, autoimmune disease. So all of these dysfunctions plays a role in premature aging as well. So, I mean, this is pretty deep stuff, man. This is going to the root of the body.
Yeah, 100%. So when we look at our mitochondria, right? When we look at our mitochondria, we have two main ways that we create a whole bunch of energy in the mitochondria. We have the citric acid cycle or the Kreb cycle, right? Same thing. The next thing is the electron transport chain. So if you look at that, we make about 34 to 38 units of ATP in our mitochondria. So you're going to see ATP is going to come from the citric acid cycle, the Kreb cycle. It's going to come from the electron transport chain primarily. And then outside of the mitochondria, we have energy in the form of glucose. So glucose can be helpful for short burst energy, so getting some good healthy carbs in there. But you can see a lot of the energy comes from inside the mitochondria that may not even be glucose dependent, because in the video we've already talked about, in the video I'm doing, acetyl-CoA is that first raw material for the Kreb cycle, and that comes from fats, proteins, and carbs. So we really want to dial in our mitochondrial nutrients. So a paleo template with the right macronutrients for your daily requirements is going to be essential for providing that acetyl-CoA, that first building block. And then if you're eating organic and nutrient-rich foods and you're getting, let's say, an organic acid test done so you can know what nutrients you're missing, then we can customize and make sure you have all of the nutrients and foundational support to move that Kreb cycle around and pump out ATP, which is going to be the currency of our body for energy.
Great. Yeah, when I first hear mitochondria, just because I was into the bodybuilding world for a while, I always think of D-ribose. I don't know what comes to mind for you, but I always think of ribose as kind of the big supplement for energy production.
Yeah, I think of like alpha-lipoic acid and carnitine.
Mm-hmm.
I think of those quite frequently. Again, these nutrients like carnitine, for instance, this is from my biochemical textbook in doctorate school. It said, carnitine is a compound that's created primarily with the amino acids methionine and lysine, which are deficient in a vegetarian diet. And it talked about the fact that vegetarians could be deficient in L-carnitine, which is important because we need L-carnitine to perform the carnitine shuttle, which the carnitine shuttle is nothing more than our body bringing fat into the mitochondria and burning it for fuel. So the analogy I give my patients, it's like the old-time steam trains with the coal. We're just shoveling that coal into the furnace to be combusted and create steam and move the pistons. And that coal is like fat, and the shovel is like the carnitine. So the carnitine shuttle is like the carnitine shovel. It's shoveling that coal into the furnace to create the energy to move those pistons around. And the real world body analogy is to move that Krebs cycle around where we can generate ATP, and then we can also generate ATP in the form of the Krebs cycle. In the form of the electron transport chain as well. So we have the electron transport chain and then the Krebs cycle, where we're really creating a lot of our ATP. And the ATP is the currency in which our body uses this energy. It's how our cells use. It's kind of the transactions in which our cells create energy. We create it in our economy with dollar bills and things like that, and credit cards. They do it with ATP. So we really want to make sure our mitochondria are maximizing its economic or ATP output.
So You're telling me a vegetarian diet is not a good idea?
Again, for some people, they can pull it off and they can do really good. But if you have higher protein requirements and higher fat requirements, again, most vegetarians tend to be on the lower fat side. The smarter ones will do coconut oil and MCT and avocado, and they'll do vegetarian DHA via algae. The smart ones will do that. But it's so much easier just eating healthy animal products and getting your nutrients that way.
It sure is. I couldn't do it the other way you just said. That sounds miserable.
And again, most people that have a hard time or that feel better on a vegetarian diet, because, a lot of cancer institutes and cancer places like the Gerson Institute, for instance, they do a lot of vegetarian, a lot of juicing. And I personally feel they get great results doing that off the bat, because many of these cancer patients, their guts are just so screwed up where it's just really easy juicing vegetables and getting a lot of your nutrients that way, because it's already broken down. It's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we got to work on fixing the guts. If you look at evolution, there aren't many places in the world that didn't rely on some level of animal products. So if you're having a hard time dealing with animal products, it's either one, a food allergen, or number two, there's some type of digestive issue, combination of low enzymes, low stomach acid, and or a gut bug or dysbiosis that's really preventing you from maximizing the digestive nutrients from these animal products.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a mild chore, if you will, to cook and things like that. But I feel like it's even more of a struggle for people that are trying to maintain a vegan or even a vegetarian diet than if they would just get in some good animal protein, because they're always trying to fill in the gaps of these things that they're missing out if they just had some good quality animal protein in their diet.
Yeah, and it's something like 25% of the energy that you take in via a lot of these animal proteins. It takes that much, minimum 25%, just to even break it down and digest it. So eating animal proteins and fats and such can be very intensive, can deplete and can require a lot of energy. So if you're sick and chronically ill, I mean, definitely utilizing broths, bone broths and soups where you're really breaking things down, maximizing chewing, maximizing enzymes so we can break it down better, and even using free-form amino acids, aminos that are already broken down, can be really helpful, because now the body doesn't have to go under all the extra energy required to free up these amino acids, because protein are nothing more than pearl necklaces, and then the individual pearls are the aminos. So imagine every time you want to break down that necklace, you got to rip it apart, and that can take energy. And if you're already fatigued, that may just be enough to push you over the top. So in my chronically ill patients, we'll see on an organic acid test isocitrate, cisaconate, and citrate on the lower end, and we'll know, and we'll give them extra free form amino acids to help. We'll even see things like hair issues or nail issues and skin issues, and we may give them some extra free form aminos just to make it easier so the body has some extra building blocks in the meantime.
Yeah, I have a good success story about bone broth I want to tell.
Go ahead.
It's not in a human patient, but in a feline patient. So Hannah and I, my wife, were looking for a house this past weekend, and we were kind of out in the country. We're looking for a piece of land with a house, things like that. And we come across this little dry creek bed, and I hear a meow. I'm like, that's weird. And I look over, and sure enough, there's a little kitten laying in the dried up creek bed. Looks like it can't move. Looks like it has a broken leg. And so I'm like, oh, crap, I can't just leave this guy here now that I've seen him. I'm involved. Yeah. So I go check him out, and I'm, making sure he's not going to bite me or hurt me or anything like that. And I pick him up, and he's acting really weird. He's super skinny, malnourished, things like that. So long story short, we check out the house, and, we leave him there until we come out, and he's still there. So we take him home, and we're calling all the animal shelters, trying to get him checked out. They're all closed for the weekend. This was, I guess it was last Friday. And so we're like, crap, what do we do? So we end up taking him to this vet, spending like $200 on him, getting him defleed. He was infested with fleas. They trimmed up his hair. He had a bunch of mats in his hair and things like that. Just rough shave. So we bring him home, and he's not eating anything, and he's not drinking anything. And I'm like, man, the only thing I could think to do, because he had a fever too. So he had like a 104 fever, which is high for cats, just like humans. And he wouldn't eat. So I'm like, man, if I couldn't eat, what would I do? And I was like, I would do like an organic chicken and wild rice soup or something. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to give him that. But I had some bone broth in the pantry, the Pacific cute little bone broth cardboard box, super convenient. So I pour a little bit of that out into a bowl, and the second I put that bowl down in front of him, he just starts licking and slurping up the entire bowl of bone broth, and then he just passes out and starts purring and goes to sleep in my lap. I mean, it was just awesome to see. He knew right there, this is some good stuff. Got some energy. Now, I was kind of happy with him just being a lazy cat in my lap, but now he's been sipping on bone broth basically this entire week, and now he has so much energy that he's just running around the house, chasing my ankles, biting my ankles, chasing the dog. So now he's got too much energy.
Wow.
But anyway, that's my bone broth cat rescue story.
Crazy. Well, we feed our cats a little bit of cod liver oil. We'll even put in probiotics. I try to do all grain-free stuff as biologically appropriate as possible. I think that's, I see how animals are treated today and the quality of food they eat. It's devastating. If people knew the quality of food they were feeding their pets, they would probably think twice.
Yeah, I know. Do you ever give your cats like raw meat of any kind? I've heard about that.
I've really tried. It just becomes, they really have a standoff with me, and they're like, nope, we're not going to eat. And I'm just like, so I try to go with some type of, fish or tuna or beef that's, human grade, even organic, something that I could potentially eat.
Mm-hmm.
And just really good quality, biologically appropriate dry food as their kind of staple.
Yeah, cool. A little bit off subject, but on the subject of energy nonetheless. So
yeah.
I've seen the results firsthand with bone broth and myself, and definitely a lot of people that I've given bone broth as a recommendation for their gut healing protocol.
Yeah, that's great. And I just wanted to just walk everyone through one more time, right? We have glycolysis. That's where we take glucose and we create energy out of glucose. That happens outside of your mitochondria. In the mitochondria, we have the Kreb cycle, or the citric acid cycle. They're the same thing. We crank out ATP, all right? In that process, our Kreb cycle produces these things called NADH and FADH2, and those gather up hydrogens. And those hydrogens then get tossed over to the electron transport chain, and we generate more ATP, about 30 to 34 units and about 2 to 6 units on the Krebs cycle. So all of these ATP come out of the mitochondria, about 32 to 38, depending on who you read or listen to, net or gross. And that's the energy that comes out of the mitochondria. So we have the outside part of the mitochondria, which is glycolysis. That's glucose energy. Inside, we have the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain. So a lot of the nutrients and a lot of the things that I mentioned today had to do more with the Krebs cycle. And this is important. So we got to realize proteins, B vitamins, alpha-lipoic acid, carnitine, right? These are really important nutrients to help run the cycle, and we can deplete nutrients with stress, with poor blood sugar, and with toxicity issues. So if we can maximize all those things by having good quality food, being careful with the refined sugar, and avoiding toxicity and giving your body what it needs, that's kind of like the first kind of foundational step to mind your mitochondria, if you will.
Good stuff. Should we talk about action steps, or what's next in your brain over there?
Yeah, why don't you kind of throw out a couple of action steps that the patients and the people listening can start with?
Well, I'm a supplement nerd. I mean, working at a supplement company, I'm a little bit biased, and I always like to go to the supportive nutrients. Once again, assuming the diet's figured out and straightened out, assuming that stress is managed, people are using sensory deprivation tanks, or they're going out in nature, they're doing something to balance out the sympathetic and parasympathetic. If all that's done, then I really like to use, even creatine is really helpful. I've got energy benefits from creatine. Most of the time you hear it as a supplement only for bodybuilders and guys wanting to get big and things like that, but I found creatine really helpful. You've already mentioned the alpha-lipoic acid. I've used that not standalone. I've used that in combination type products. And then I've also used some of the PQQ. I've used some of that just for experimentation purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just some things that I've experimented with and I've noticed great benefit in terms of energy. I obviously like to use a good vitamin B12, a methylated cobalamin B12. You can even get that one now. I think it's, the L-MTHF
Yes.
B12.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one too. So I guess those are kind of my go-to choices. Getting a good quality B vitamin in, sometimes a B complex, but it's tough to find one that doesn't make people's pee turn gold and they're just in that overdose of B vitamin range.
Exactly. I would say next for me on top of that, magnesium is really important for the Krebs cycle. It has over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body are magnesium dependent. B12 is really important. So a lot of vegetarians that may not get enough absorbable B12, right? You can get analogs of B12 via the plants, but they don't have the same effect. So if you're getting an anemia from a B12 or an iron, that can affect the Krebs cycle and how your body creates energy. So any anemia that can either be a B12 anemia or a iron-based anemia, that's really important. Next is B6. B6 is really important for the brain, for converting neurotransmitters, but it's also important for the Krebs cycle. And then CoQ10, right? One of the things that your Krebs cycle does is the mevalonic acid pathway in which, CoQ10 is made. It's made from cholesterol, and it's a byproduct of the ATP in the Krebs cycle. So CoQ10 is very important. Even things like malic acid, succinic acid, these are important Krebs cycle intermediaries. I already mentioned creatine, D-ribose, a really important Krebs cycle nutrient, L-carnitine. So depending on what organic acids, we'll use some broad spectrum mitochondrial support. That's number one. And then number two is we'll actually use specific high doses of L-carnitine and CoQ10 on top of that. And we may even add in alpha lipoic acid, especially if we see extra blood sugar issues on top of it.
Yeah, and talk about CoQ10 a little bit. There's a big variance in quality.
Yeah, I mean, with CoQ10, right, it's like anything else. It's like, well, meat's meat. Well, no, you can get meat from McDonald's or you can get meat from your grass-fed farmer, two totally different things. And it's amazing how most vegetarians and vegans just want to lump meat into one category. But heck, we would never lump vegetables in one category. We wouldn't say, hey, the Roundup Ready, vegetable that's sprayed with thousands of pounds of pesticides a year is the same as the organic one in your backyard, right? That's just crazy. But we do that with meat all the time. So what was your question again? I just got off my own little tangent there.
The question was talking about CoQ10, why you need a good activated version or bioavailable version, if you will. Obviously for magnesium, all that stuff too, because people still, like when I get the supplement list from people, like what are you currently taking during the initial paperwork, I'll still see magnesium oxide on there. And it's like, that's a 4% absorption rate. So that's garbage. And that's the same thing that you'll get with some of these low-quality CoQ10s that people will go to Walgreens and just pick off the shelf because they heard in an article or a podcast like this that it's good. So they go out and they just get the standard thing, and the standard thing's not going to cut it.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of the CoQ10 like in the cheaper stores like the Walgreens and the Costco and such. I'll see the price of the CoQ10, and I know what the supplement companies buy these things at cost from the major manufacturers. Like the manufacturing at cost price is more than what they're selling it at retail in some of these box stores.
Jeez.
So it's just impossible to get quality when you're, buying something that cheap. So again, we try to use maximal absorption, lowest amount of additives. There's some benefit to reduce. There's some benefit to non-reduce, meaning ubiquinone or ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is the reduced form. Ubiquinone is the non-reduced form. Just the difference is a gain in electron. The reduced form has a gain of an electron in there. Again, the research is spotty. It doesn't support as much on the reduced side. It's a little bit more expensive, so I just tend to use the regular ubiquinone with some people. But as they get older, there's some research saying that maybe the ubiquinol is better. But I typically go with the ubiquinone at about 100 to 300 milligrams per day.
Do you take CoQ10 yourself?
I take a broad spectrum mitochondrial support that does have anywhere between 100 to 200 milligrams per day. So I do get at least 100 to 150 in per day.
Mm-hmm. When I told you about all the stuff with my grandma, it'd be a long story to say on here, but I brought up to the cardiologist. I said, hey, I'm looking to do you guys have any CoQ10 on hand that you can get pumping into her ASAP? And he said, it hasn't even been proven in studies to work. So, I think CoQ10 is kind of like the vitamin E where everybody got all, yeah, vitamin E. And he just completely dismissed the value of CoQ10. I forgot to tell you about that off air,
really?
but it was just like, dude, really? It's like I could pull up my mobile PubMed app right now and show you studies of CoQ10, but maybe there weren't studies in 1970 or whenever he graduated. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, get with the times.
It's tough because in research, you can almost find something that says anything you want. So if this guy is, anti-functional medicine or anti-nutrition and wants to just lean more on the conventional side, he could find stuff that says what he wants. Again, we could probably rip apart the study and maybe see, well, the CoQ10 didn't have the highest quality. Maybe the amount wasn't therapeutic enough. We could rip it apart from that perspective, but he just looks at it and says, well, CoQ10, the abstract conclusion said wasn't effective for heart failure or heart issues. And, we know that there's other confounding variables that may have been affecting that, the amount, the quality. And there are other studies that do say there's an issue. And clinically, we know that patients that need CoQ10, when we add it in, they do better and they feel better.
Yep.
And what more clinically do you need? I mean, how much money, how much time, how many years do we need to spend for something to be a part of the mainstream? It won't be a part of the mainstream. The research says that once something actually enters the research, it's in the research and it's like, it's there. It takes about 20 years for that to become part of the mainstream. So, yeah. I mean, my God, if you're waiting for definitive things in research to become part of a mainstream, I mean, you're going to be waiting for decades. And if you're like 20 or 30 now, I mean, you may be 60 or 70 and retire before you can ever get the official benefit.
Right. That's insane. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the clinical side of things. If I see that it's going to work, I'm going to continue using it. And you and I both isolate things and we tweak all these different variables and it works. There's no doubt about it. So I'm glad we got to hash that out because it's crazy to always have to have something in writing that's signed in blood that says, yes, this is guaranteed to work. I mean, if I see it working outside of some double-blind placebo. I mean, I'm a big fan of those, but they're not necessary if I see it working in the day-to-day life.
Oh my gosh. Like I heard a doctor recently say that, well, talking about diet and cancer, that dietary changes have not been, shown to help cancer, right? It's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It's like, is it that hard to understand that sugar in your diet feeds cancer cells? I mean, we only have a test called a PET scan that involves giving someone radioactive glucose so we can see where that glucose goes because we know the tumors take it up. It's like, is that hard to bridge? Is it that hard to bridge the gap over that glucose feeds excessive sugar feeds cancer, or that if we have man-made carcinogenic compounds in the form of pesticides and plastics that are known to be carcinogenic, that if we take those in our diet, that could affect and grow cancer cells in our body? I mean, is it that far-fetched? So it's really difficult because, like, you got to look at yourself. You got to clinically look and see what works for you. Use functional testing. Try it. See how it feels, because essentially all research really comes from and is initiated first by clinical research. Like, it's a clinical observation. A doctor sees it, a patient benefits and goes, hey, let's create a study. Let's do this. And then we finally see the benefit years later in a clinical study. And then it has to be repeated many, many times. And then maybe 20 or 30 years later, we can actually say, hey, this actually does that. But there's so many years we have to wait. And clinical research, the clinical observation is where it all starts from. So try to get a lot of your information from the clinical side, and then you'll save yourself 30 years having to miss out on the benefit.
Totally. Great way to sum that up, man.
So action item right now, all the diet and lifestyle stuff we already mentioned. If you want to take it to the next level, get an organic acid test. You can reach out to Evan or to myself, Justin Health, or Not Just Paleo, and we can get a test ordered for you. We can customize a program based on that test. I just ran 2 tests from 2 different companies side by side, and I'm looking forward to doing a video reviewing that and how I did on my organic acid test. I think everyone's like, I wonder if he's really practicing what he preaches, and I'm going to show you how good or bad my test was. You'll have to tune in and see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see too, because it sounds like I'm going to be switching companies as well.
Yeah, and I'll give you a little sneak preview. my organics have been getting better over the last year or two. So I'm excited, and I've added some additional mitochondrial support, and I definitely feel the improvement. And again, like the diet's the foundation. This is kind of like the frosting on the cake to take it to the next level, if you will.
Yeah, and this is a whole nother podcast, but since I've really enjoyed this one. This has been really fun. I really love stacking the mitochondrial support with adaptogens. I mean, it just takes it to a whole nother level.
Love it. Absolutely. So. Well, anyone's listening to this, they want to get to the next level, they know where to reach out. And again, if you guys are liking the actual real clinical info, go over to iTunes, click below either on the YouTube video or on the iTunes podcast app, and let us have a review. Give us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Give us some feedback. If you have any show recommendations, let us know what you want to hear. We're here to produce really great information that really help empower, the culture, the country here. You really want to put information out there and get people back taking control of their health.
Definitely. And yeah, go write a review. This show is going to be on my show and on Dr. J's as well. Write a review for his show on iTunes. Yes, it takes a few minutes, but you have a few minutes because you just spent X amount of minutes listening to this. So go on there, click the write a review button, tab. You have to actually add some stars, add in some words. Just do it. It's so helpful for us. It keeps us up in the top of the charts to where all of the multi-level marketing schemes and other people that we're quote unquote competing with, that they fall to the bottom, and that we rise with the truth and the real way to get to the bottom of health and happiness.
Awesome. I love it, Evan. We'll end on that. That's a perfect ending point.
All right, man.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.